I've been watching The Sopranos since I was like 15. Started it in 2022 around there after I got obsessed with that sort of genre of TV, like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Um, so I just wanted I've been watching it for years. It was a way harder show to consume than Breaking Bad was, or Better Call Saul. You know, even with Breaking Bad being as well written as it is, uh, you know, I started watching it when I was like 15 or so. So I wasn't. I was I was more into simpler media. Not but just like where my consciousness was at the time. And I apologize if this is pretty shit. I'm kind of high, but I've just been watching The Sopranos, and I wanted to make this because it's gone so good and deep that I wanted to make a video off the cuff that isn't edited. Because I always have to plan everything I'm gonna say and edit it and all that and make sure it's perfect. And I know I'm not really that good at making just talking into the camera and getting my thesis basically across. But what I was talking about with Breaking Bad, even at the time, I was getting to season 4 and I'm like, okay, can Walt just kill Gus already? I had that attention span kind of thing. Cause I'm a Gen Z fucking little kid with you know TikTok brain. But I still fucking adore fiction that actually you know has complex characters. Uh, and even if I can't always handle that dark shit, it's kind of just become one of I only consume because it's just so fucking long. I got better at the pacing. I fucking adored Breaking Bad. I watched it like twice, and I started Better Call Saul right after that, which is a way slower show. But because of my appreciation of the source material it was adapting, I was giving it more, I was giving more of my energy towards it. Uh, I didn't really get the depth of Better Call Saul because at first, because it's once you see the story completely, because it the way Better Call Saul is structured is it's kind of a mystery. It's it's filling out the gray spots of the Breaking Bad timeline. Because Breaking Bad it basically showed everything that was essential without any backstory on who these characters are. So they kind of came off as cartoonish. Like Saul, for instance. But the way Better Call Saul was written was just so fucking good. Because I think Walter White is a pretty shitty anti-hero. Um, I'm not because he's badly written, but he's a good starter anti-hero for when you're getting into the genre, of morally complex characters and storytelling. Um, he's pretty simple, and it's portrayed more in a way where you could glorify it. That's why there's so much hate for Skyler, but not like Kim Wexler or Carmela from The Sopranos, for instance, because the way Walter was written, where his his ego isn't. It's more written from a place of he comes off as rational and intelligent in what he's doing, even though it comes more from a place of being uh broken. It's all these shows are really an exploration of masculinity, and that's what I've really, as I explored it myself, masculinity myself. I had these shows that showed me the darker side of being a man, and because it was a pretty subtle scene of Walter in season 4 when Walt Jr. comes to the house and Walter is drunk and he just got in a fight with Jesse, and he talks about his dad dying of cancer or like some sort of terminal illness, and like he recounts him being in the hospital and looking at his dad, uh, and that's like the only time his parents are ever mentioned. So you could see like he's kind of estranged from his parental models. But like most people just take his character as Gretchen and Elliot and his feeling of betrayal, and it more so stems from his roots of who he really is. Like, because Heisenberg is his shadow, and your shadow is basically your inner child. It's who you really are, and the way the shadow is explored in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and Sopranos, it's shown in different ways, different forms of masculinity. Walter and Tony are pretty similar. Um, Tony being more of a boneheaded kind of guy, because he's trying to reconcile with his view of masculinity through like therapy and shit. Even though he doesn't really, Tony doesn't really, well, he does all the things he thinks he should do, like therapy, right? But he doesn't evolve from it because he can't really evolve. The world he's in and all the other characters are in is a world where they have to remain static, because, a lot of The Sopranos is about death. And, I mean, obviously, Sopranos is about masculinity and death. That's the fucking title. But the way season 6 explores it is more intense. So that's like why I wanted to make this video. Fuck, what was I saying? Yeah, Tony does all the things he thinks he should do, like therapy. But he doesn't. He's in such a static world, right? Because the show really does feel repetitive. That's why it was hard to watch. That's why I've been watching it for like 5 years. And that's why it took so long to get to this moment in the show. Because of the way it's paced. That's like I have to eat it in bite-sized fucking portions. And I didn't really, it took me a while to like want to finish The Sopranos. I watched the first season when I was like a sophomore, and then I just quit the show because like I was like, I get it, but there isn't really a story. They're kind of aimless. But I continued watching seasons 1 through 4. I got halfway through when Tony gets the pie on his horse, and then I just quit the show for like around like a few months. 2024, and 2025. I only really got back into the show, I don't know, around like 2 3 months ago. I can't keep track of time anymore. Don't smoke, kids. Anyways, the narrative is just like the way I'm going on this tangent. It's very repetitive. The show, basically, it's more episodic, but it's also, what's the word? Episodic and fucking, not stylized, surrealistic, fucking, serialized. So like, some of the arcs repeat over time, like Tony cheating, Carmela, being repentant of Tony's sins, and all the characters are basically stuck in a perpetual loop. Chris with heroin, fucking Christ, and like all the characters that do get introduced, like Richie, Pussy, fucking Ralphie, and man, my throat is on fire. And most recently, what's her name? Adriana's death, Christopher's girlfriend. It's like it's so repetitive over time, but like the way the show like looks back on the death, right? It's like it still sticks over time. I was really slow in my pacing of season 5. You know, it was just another boring season. Really, I was just trying to get to the end. You know, but I was still invested, uh, and not trying to rush myself. You know, because like you can only experience something once. I only know I'm gonna watch the show once because The Sopranos is not rewatchable at all. I know I sound like some spoiled fucking guy, right? But uh, Sopranos has kind of aged as a series. The series has just gotten so investing since the beginning of season 6. I really think season 6 is one of the best seasons of television I've ever watched. That's why it's like so monumental to me that I wanted to make a who knows how long video about it. Because it's really because of the themes it chooses to explore. Its themes have already been repackaged and moved throughout the series, but the way it's like so heavily focused on, uh, I just really liked the way Tony is explored with his masculinity throughout season 6. At least the first half. I'm only on episode 11, so I'm just really talking out of my ass. But it was just see episode 1 was so good. Like when this guy that wants to move to Florida, out of the mob, you know, he gets denied by Tony, and like his wife is like the only option is to kill him, and he's like I can't do that, and like he has to choose between killing him and not killing him, and you know what he chooses? He chooses to commit suicide instead. And that scene was fucking brutal, but yeah, the scene where Tony gets shot by Junior, and the music that was playing was like I don't know, it was like some 50s shit that Tony probably grew up on, and like the way he was like Uncle June as like fucking June hid in the closet because he has Alzheimer's, and the way the fucking scene was made is like people are like, oh, Junior shot him because of he thought he was his old enemy, right? Because he says like some fucking Italian name before he shoots him. But like what happens before is like he's watching a show, and it like shows a commander and a guy, and he's like, I think you're such an incompetent leader in yeah, I don't really remember what everything it said, but it was definitely a real show, you know, because Sopranos is so heavily influenced on fucking pop culture and shit. It's very meta. Like I remember, like the episode I just watched, episode 11 of season 6. Carmela calls and she's like, "Will you fucking stop the pop culture references?" Because like, yeah, every fucking character like says some obscure pop culture reference that I'm, yeah, uh, and they're like basically becoming caricatures of themselves, and it's like every character is so fucking alone, especially the woman of the Sopranos. Uh, I can't really think of anything right now, but it's like Carmela, for instance. She cheats, quote unquote, with Tony in season 5 after they attempt to divorce each other, and like the teacher blames her for like manipulating him when Carmela was just trying to, you know, fucking escape. Very similar to Skyler and Breaking Bad. But where it's more of a power move in Breaking Bad, here it's more like I'll do the same fucking thing as you, Tony, but you, but I get demonized for it. That's basically like what's going on, and like Tony's like, what about fucking what's the guy's name? The long haired guy, Silvio. He's talking like, fucking Silvio, you're gonna have sex with him, and Carmelo's like, I didn't even have sex with him. But it's like, you know, Tony always deflects because of Carmela's reactions to Tony's cheating and toxicity. Yeah, but the scene where Tony gets shot and he's like fucking trying to get the phone, and yeah, and um I didn't expect to get an emotional reaction out of that because like a, lo- a lot of the characters in Sopranos are very hateable. I really fucking hate Chris. People compare him to Jesse from Breaking Bad. There is like no fucking similarity at all. Chris is a horrible person. Even if I tried to see the good in him, but he's also pretty boneheaded. Most of the characters are in Sopranos. They really just don't grasp each other. It's like every conversation is like a game of telephone. It's like they can't fucking get through each other. And that's what makes the show kind of infuriating, but it makes the drama so fucking dense, you know? Because you understand every fucking character and subplot. But yeah, when Tony wakes up in the hospital and he's like puking, and he's like coming out of a coma, dream, and like he and Carmela and Meadow are next to him in the bed, and he's like screaming. He's like, "Where am I? Who am I?" I cried a little, and I did not expect to, because I don't really like Tony as a person, but I'm really starting to understand. With shows like this, in life in general, you really gain empathy through these experiences that I choose to consume. But yeah, that was actually powerful, because like the coma dreams in episodes 2 and 3 are just like so fucking dense and interesting. Like I couldn't even know where to start with it, right? But it's like all the coma dreams are Tony's like, he's away from home and he's calling Carmela and being like, I wish I was there with you, because he feels so separate. And like he's always at a bar, and like he gets in a fight with a monk, and the monk is like, in the dream, it's symbolism for, Tony holding on to his ego. But the thing about The Sopranos is it's not just about Tony, it's about society, American society, and how individualized and singular we've become. That's why like every character feels so separate and not really much of a family. It really helps me understand family structures in general, right? Because like uh we're they're just so separate, and the society around them that's so violent and angry, which is continually cycled like a domino, because this video probably sucks ass, but hey, I just want to ramble, honestly. And like Tony in the dream is trying to get on a flight, and he's denied because it's symbolism for like him not being able to it's kind of like God not accepting him, right? That's basically because he's being stuck in purgatory, but he could still come out if he releases all these karmic shit. But really, the gunshot is something that's talked about through the entirety of the first part of season 6, because it's a really crucial plot point. Tony and Carm are basically back together, and he tries to. There's a woman who wants to buy a piece of land that Tony owns to build a fucking Jamba Juice or something, and he tries to hook up with her, and you see it throughout the show, and like you're at this point in the story, and you're just like, Tony, like you're going back, you're stepping back, come on. I mean, the entirety of The Sopranos is really a one step forward, 18 steps back type of show. When she tries to take off his shirt, and like he has the bullet wound, he doesn't want to, because like the exploration of the bullet wound is like, his lack of power. He doesn't feel masculine, and that's like really emphasized in the episode where he's being driven to work by his security guard, and he looks at the guy's arms, and they're muscular, and he just feels like a fat fucking stupid bitch. It's emphasized that he could get the guy angry, right? When a guy behind them fucks them over or something. Like he also has anger issues. Uh, and later in the episode, like when he's in the pork shop with the guys and he's looking at all of them, uh, and it's like in these really slow mo shots, like it's showing off how he sees them as more masculine. Like Paulie fucking, grooming his hair and Christopher smoking a cigarette, and he just feels overpowered by them, so he beats the security guard for like basically no reason, and just to assert power, and he goes into the bathroom and like pukes out blood because he's still injured. And it just he's pushing his social status above his own body, and like for men, fucking being masculine and being a symbol of that is important, and that's what I really wanted to emphasize through this. Because if you feel like there's not a through line through this video, that's okay. Because The Sopranos is aimless in general. I feel like these arcs really connect because like the entirety of season 6 is very heavily themed around masculinity and being gay. With the Silvio or no Vito arc, where he basically gets run out of town because he sucked a guy's dick, and he like falls in love with his fighter, but he's also a dumbass, and he goes back to Tony to try to get back into the mob, and he gets fucking murdered, and it's horrible and brutal to watch. And yeah, I can tell that the show is making me have a very pessimistic view of the world, but the way the mob's, all the guys' hatred towards being gay is shown throughout is very just so fucking layered. And for a show that came out in the early 2000s, it's just so deep and honest, and it's like it's not fucking nice to gay people either, but that's the truth it's trying to share with you. Paulie is like the most hateful towards him for it. He's like, oh, I want to fucking kill him. I think what you tend to notice about homophobes is that they're kind of just insecure about their own sense of self, and the fact that someone is breaking these barriers makes them feel insecure. And Tony, I think it's a really cool scene where Tony is talking to his therapist, and he's like, honestly, deep in my heart, I do not give a fuck if you take it up the ass. You could do anything. Saibu you, whatever he fucking says. And it's really emphasized because he's like, do I have to fucking kill Vito for being gay? Because he has kids, and are we really gonna do this to this guy just for that? And but he's forced into that position, and he basically traps him into his own death. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I'm not grasping The Sopranos a lot sometimes because like I kind of, just so fucking. After Vito dies, Bobby comes in, and he tells all the guys that Vito was like brutally murdered, and I just fucking love the silence between all of them. They don't say a word really, and it's only like Christopher who's like deflecting a little, right? And then another guy walks in, and he's like, oh, fucking Vito deserved it, and it's like he was and Tony was like, he was a respected guy though, right? He was the guy that we cared about. He was a part of us, and but he still calls him a faggot, and to show off his, because you can't be not progressive because it's just basic decency, but you can't be like that in where he's from. But even still, he's like, it's pretty evident that he doesn't really give a fuck, because he's like, to Silvio, he's like, it's fucking 2006. Who cares? Sorry that I'm going on all about the gay shit in Sopranos, but I think it's an important part of what I'm trying to talk about here. And, Vito is murdered by Phil, the guy who's like the most wants to kill him for being gay. There's a scene where he's sitting on the couch with Vito's widow, and she's just like crying and being like, his face was so badly beaten, he didn't even look like a human anymore. and Phil looks at the TV and he sees like bodybuilders and he's like, will you turn that shit off? And then he's like, and then to reassure her, he's like, God works in mysterious ways. And it's just like he sees it more as God's doing for, and less so of him killing a person and more of killing a sinner. That's how they justify it. That's really emphasized throughout the season, how religion is used as like a fucking lie to I don't know, like, because even Vito's wife is like, you could talk to Dr. Phil, like fucking basically conversion therapy, and he's like, there's nothing fucking wrong with me. And yeah, and when Phil uh looks at his fucking wife, and she's just, and the final shot is just her staring at him. It's just like, it was just like a bitch please kind of face. Like, we know what you did. We know it was you. And like Tony is pissed off because he thinks he basically sent him to his death, but he was mad at Phil for doing it still. And I think that's just interesting because you could watch it normally, and if you're a dumb person, you're like, why would he not care about killing, about sending Vito's on his way to death, and uh and still act mad after it happens, it's just really layered. And that's the same for all characters, because like there's a guy that's like talking shit in the kitchen, and like the guys like, they stab him and like they murder him, but they're like, they don't say it's because like in all reality they really they care for Vito and they don't really give a fuck. And I think later in the episode when Tony is in therapy, uh, Melfi is like she's like, so all the women in the house are gone, and he looks at his watch. He's uncomfortable because like there's a lack of masculinity and femininity coexisting in this world. So it's like he's kind of dismissive of femininity as a concept. Uh, but like you could see the subtext behind the scene is about, they're silent because he's thinking about his death. And Tony talks about how he hates his son because he's just like sitting on his laptop in his underwear, like laughing at a group chat that he's in, and it's just like, it pisses him off because like he's such a Anthony Jr. is just, he's not greedy at all or selfish, because it's just the environment he was raised in, especially in the early 2000s. I really understand that type of apathy from a teenage boy kind of perspective. Um, and Tony's like, he wouldn't be as much of a bitch as he is if he wasn't beaten like I was, and Melfi's just like trying to make him see it's like, you're mad because this cycle of violence wasn't repeated for AJ, and he still deflects after that. And like, yeah, that was just a really powerful scene though, because even though I'm halfway through the show, it's like I know they're not going to change, and I'm really just taking in the subtext, because like homosexuality is a very focused on concept in season 6. Like even before Tony like makes Anthony get another job after he gets fired from Blockbuster, uh, right before he gets him the job, like AJ is with his friends on the couch, and his friend is like, you know what the worst thing about skateboarding is? Telling your parents that you're gay. And then like he gets told by his dad, then AJ gets told by his dad that he has to work construction and shit, and Tony like bashes his car in, as like a form of like a power move, like, you will do this, you will have this job. um yeah, So I mean, that's basically as far as I am in The Sopranos. I just like I really wanted to talk about it. I mean, like I got a whole 30 fucking or so minutes out of it. So I mean, I probably wasn't in the best headspace or way of thinking to talk consistently, but hey, who cares? Um, yeah, so that's basically all I wanted to talk about. Sorry if I disappointed you with this, but fuck off.